Just change it on the... Oh, okay. Thanks, Stephen. So even if you don't employ staff, hopefully this will still resonate even when you're thinking about how you deal with clients or customers, potential clients or customers, contractors, anybody that you're really doing business with. I've done quite a few DISC profiles for different people, and one of my clients actually came back to me a little while after I did a DISC profile for him and said that he was using it at home. So it's it's good to be able to really, you know, have a little bit of an idea. You shouldn't pigeonhole people, but it's a good idea to just have that knowledge of not just trying to pigeonhole people and go, oh, that's their profile, but consider your own and really understand where you're coming from and how you deal with people, and sometimes how you'll have to change your approach. Oh, that hasn't come out very well. So the top says we're not D, I, S or C. We're a combination of all of them. So for those of you that have never heard of DISC, it's a behavioural profiling tool, and it gives you a better understanding of yourself and how you approach situations. So it's great for team building exercises. It's good in conflict situations in the workplace. Great for self-awareness, employee engagement. It's not meant to be a recruitment tool, but it is quite good for recruitment as well, because sometimes people will just want that last little piece of the puzzle to see whether the person they're thinking about employing will fit in their team. So you shouldn't use it as the only tool, and it's not really meant to be a recruitment tool, so you shouldn't just do a DISC profile and go, oh, they're not going to fit. But it's good to just put that extra piece of the puzzle in. So I'm not sure if that's very clear right down the bottom, but there are 4 different aspects of DISC, and as that first slide said, we're a combination of all of them. So you'll usually be dominant in more than one, sometimes 2, usually it'll just be 1. So, but understand that if you're a D and you know you're very direct, and D stands for dominance, you've also got the I, the S and the C. So same with all of those things. So I'm an S, but when I'm standing up here, I've got to actually jump into the I, which is the outgoing personality part of what everybody's got. So it's really just about making sure that you've got a bit of an awareness, and then you can sort of change your approach if you need to. So I've got a few other things to go through. So I'll just touch briefly on these different quadrants of DISC. D stands for dominance, and usually you'll find that the person is very direct. Sometimes they might come across a little bit arrogant if they're in a hurry and they just want to get stuff done. They're not really interested in the details. They just want a quick decision, and you know, they're really, really set on what they want. Somebody who is predominantly I is the life of the party. So we've had different presentations here at Breakthrough for Business before, and sometimes people will talk about that in a bird sense, the different birds, and that was a peacock. For those of you that were here for that presentation. So the person who is predominantly an I will be very sociable. They'll love standing up here, presenting, which, like I said, is difficult if you're not predominantly an I. So it's about tapping into that when you need to. Influence. Yep. So S stands for steadiness, and the person who's an S profile wants the team to get on together. They want everyone to love each other and work really well together, and that's predominantly what that person wants. And the C is really somebody who wants all the detail and they want to know everything. So that stands for conscientiousness, or So the example I used earlier, I did a profile on a client and he was a D, so he runs his own business. He'd made comments to me about the fact that when he was building a team, he didn't want any other Ds in his team because he didn't want people telling him how to run his business. So I thought that was quite interesting. And I said, well, you do really have to have a balance. And when you're starting off with one person, Yeah, maybe you don't want a D, but as you grow a team and you're not in the office all the time, you might need a D to sort of keep everybody on track. So he was telling me the story of how he used it at home, and he said that he'd worked out just based on, the little bit of information that he had that his wife was a C. They've got 3 kids, and at the time they were looking for a dance school for their daughter. And he said, normally it would drive me crazy because my wife has to research everything, she has to check everything out, compare everything. He said, I'd just pick the closest one. But now that I know that that's just the way she is and that's what she has to do, I just let her go. He said, it's so much easier now. I don't get frustrated with her. She does that because that's the way she is, and I just let her go. So you can use it in lots of different situations, and this is just a very quick sort of way to be able to very quickly think about where somebody might be that you're dealing with them, and possibly change your approach. So if you are selling to a client or a potential customer and you have quickly worked out they're probably a D, they don't want all of the information, they don't want all the stats, they don't want all of everything that this piece of equipment can do. They just want to make a decision really quickly, so they just really want the big picture. Somebody who's a C, they'll want to know every little detail so they can make comparisons about everything. The I, they're probably more interested in, does it look good? Is it going to make me look good? And probably the S is going to, think, is that going to make me feel good? And, but as I said, you're a combination of all of them. So just be aware of that when you're dealing with people, that people will change as well, but you can also change your approach a little bit when you're dealing with people. And as I said, especially in a team environment, it's really great. There are lots of great workshops that you can do to really make people work better together. Sometimes people will just be clashing and you'll think, why is that happening? And if you can do a DISC profile on both people and bring them together, they'll suddenly see that they can understand where the problems might be. Okay, so slightly off the DISC subject, I'm just going to talk a little bit about getting the right people into your business and how do you attract the right people. So there's a few things I think are important. One of them's branding. So if you've got a really good brand and people know about you, people will want to work for you. So you've already got that relationship. Be really clear about what you want. So if you just put in a really vague ad in the paper, not that I think many people are probably looking in the paper for a job these days, you need to be really clear about what you need. You should have a position description so people know what you expect, and you need to be really clear so people know what they're up for when they're applying for a position in your business. Think outside the box too. So if you've got a Facebook page, it's a great place to advertise if you're looking for staff, because they already know your business if they already like your page, or somebody that likes your business might share it because they know somebody who they think would be a great fit. So it's not always about going to a recruitment agency and, giving them all of your details and getting them to do the search. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but there are lots of other ways that you can think about, especially when you're a small business and it might be the first person you're employing. You haven't got a lot of money. You can't pay out thousands of dollars to get somebody to do that work for you. There's lots of different ways you can think outside the box to attract people. So Facebook, doing different campaigns on social media where people are already seeing you. So a few tips for recruiting and managing stuff. So as I said, position descriptions. So great to have those position descriptions, and you should have one for yourself. So if you're a business and it's only you, you're going to have a lot of things on your position description because you're doing everything in the business. You might outsource some of it, but as you start to outsource things, you can take those tasks off your position description. And then when you're thinking about employing your first person, you can put that into a new position description. And usually that will be things like admin or the things that you're not the expert at, that you can quite easily get somebody else to do. As some of the earlier speakers were talking about, having videos and having processes and systems already in place so people can step in and help you with the admin duties, or you can outsource some of it, as a lot of us do. Reference checking and criminal record checks. Now, this is always a subject that people will always go, reference checks. Nobody gives a bad reference. You'll be surprised what people will tell you if you ask the right questions. Criminal record checks may not be that important in a lot of businesses, but if you're employing somebody who is going to deal with cash, or they're going into people's homes, you may want to include that in your process. So you can be really comfortable that you're employing somebody who doesn't have a criminal record, because it will be relevant to what they're doing in your business. Reference checking, I'll come back to. So, you call up somebody and you just say, I'm doing a reference check for this person. What do you think of them? Did they turn up on time? If you ask really general questions, you're not going to get a very good indication of whether they're a good fit for your business. If you ask quite specific questions that are really important to your business, things about your values, your culture, things that are really important, beliefs, that type of thing, include those in your reference check questions, because that person may not be a good fit. And if they don't align to your values and your beliefs and the culture that you have in your business, you'll find that out pretty quickly if you ask those sorts of questions in a reference check. Be specific. If that person has to work in a team and that's a crucial part of their role, you need to ask a scenario-based question. Say, okay, this person's got to work in a team and they've got to lead that team. Can you give me an example of when they've done that for you? If the person starts to hesitate and they can't give you an example, it's usually a pretty good indication that the person's not very good in a team. So it's about being really clear and asking specific questions. If anyone is interested, I've got a template, so just come and see me later if you'd like to get the template with those questions, because it makes it a little bit easier if you've got a little bit of a guide. It's really important to hire for a good attitude, not an attitude. And again, some of those questions that you can ask in the interview process and the reference checking process will give you an idea of whether that person has got a good attitude. Again, asking questions about their attitudes to work and, that type of thing, I think will give you a really good indication of whether they're going to be a good fit in your business and whether they've got a good attitude. That's slightly off the bottom of the slide, but skills and experience obviously are important, but you can train and help people through the skills and the knowledge that they need. But the alignment with your values and the culture is a lot more important. Some things you're going to need a university degree for. I understand that, but if it's not a job that needs a specific qualification, a lot of the time the skills and experience and the attitude will be more important, in my opinion. So how do you retain the right people? It really is about your culture and making sure that you do have a culture. And again, we've heard about that earlier today, creating a good culture, making sure that you've got your employees engaged and they're not disengaged. If you've got people in your business that aren't engaged, that aren't actively looking for a job, they're probably worse than people that aren't looking for a job, because they're just coming to work, and as people said before, they come in late, they leave early, they're not really doing anything while they're at work, they're probably on Facebook for part of the day. So some of the things that you can implement into your business to make sure that you have got people that want to stay. Start a mentor program. So if you're a bigger business and you can actually have a mentor program, it doesn't have to be an official program, but it can just be buddying people up and letting people share their knowledge and experience and bringing people along. Seek feedback, ask questions, have regular team meetings. One of the VIP members, they have something that's called 10 at 10. Every Monday morning at 10 o'clock, they have a 10-minute meeting. And it's about asking people what was their best achievement for last week, what are they planning for this week, and what wins have they had. So it's only a quick meeting, it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it gets people pumped for the rest of the week. And it also gives them the opportunity to give feedback. So somebody might come up with an idea and say, I've been thinking about we could maybe improve this process. So it makes people have the ownership of really contributing into the business, and not just feeling like they're coming to work and they're not really engaged and feeling like they're part of the business. Collaborating on culture too, so making sure that you're asking people what's important to them and making sure that you do have that values alignment with everybody. Talk to people in team meetings about the things that they like in the business and how you can help to really create that great environment that people like coming to. You spend so much time at work, you really want to be able to have a great environment that people can come to work and have a little bit of fun and, feel comfortable and, really enjoy their time with their colleagues at work. And also celebrate. So celebrate the wins. Celebrate when somebody comes up with a good idea. Talk about, a great idea that somebody may have come up with. Do what Stephen just did. Stephen's just rewarded 3 of our members. He's celebrated their great achievements by acknowledging it to everybody in the group. So that's fantastic. They feel great about it. And probably the people in the rest of the group will think that they want to be the person that gets up and gets the bottle of wine next time. Or they want to become, the star employee of the business. So I think it's really important if you can celebrate those great achievements. It could be something simple like just a mention at a meeting, or it could be a more formal reward and recognition program. It doesn't always have to be about money, but it can be about different rewards. And again, get input into what people think is important. It could be that somebody gets a half a day off, or they get to leave early on a Friday, or they get to pick where you're going to go and have your team lunch. So it doesn't always have to cost a lot of money, but I think the thing is, if you can really make sure that people feel like they've got buy-in in all of these things, then you're going to create that culture where people feel really included and they feel like their opinion's valued, not just coming to work and doing their job and leaving without really feeling like they've been part of something special. Are your people a cultural fit, and how do you know? Again, I think a lot of this really needs to start right at the beginning. So getting people into your business that do share your values and they do have the same beliefs and ideas and the same things are important to them. I read a really great book. It's called The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. He's written lots of books about business, but I really loved this idea about the ideal team player, and it's a lot about culture, and it's a lot about having that team culture and being the ideal team player. And they talk about 3 different attributes that are really important in a business, and it tells a story about a business and how they employ everybody by looking at these 3 things. So I hate having slides that's got lots of text, but I think it was really important to actually get this so people can take photos of it or have a read of it later. In this book, they talk about interview questions, referee questions. The whole process of recruiting somebody is really focusing on these 3 attributes. So what they were saying is that ideal team players are humble. So they're not really concerned about status. They really want to make sure that they share the credit, they emphasise the team, and they really have the success collectively more than just, oh, look what I did. Aren't I fantastic? I think somebody who's humble in a team in this particular sense, they don't want all of the accolades for themselves. They want to be able to share it with the team and really acknowledge that people have been part of something, and it's not just all about, oh yeah, I did all of that, or in the worst possible sense, there are lots of people in business who are employees who will want to take all of the credit for their team, or sometimes they haven't even done anything. They're always looking for more as well. So they want to learn. They want to get involved in more things. They want to help grow the business. They want to grow themselves. So they're always motivated to get in and, take on more responsibility, mentor people, help other people that have just come into the business. So they're always thinking about that next opportunity and how they can improve not just themselves but the business and the people around them. And the SMART here is not really talking about smart in the IQ sense. It's really talking again about emotional intelligence. So it's about knowing how to act in a group situation. It's how you can deal with other people, and that might be in a conflict situation. You might have somebody who's really good at being able to help people through problems if they are having conflict. And, it's always good to be able to, be that person that's being able to bring the whole group together and really make everybody work as a team. So the humble, hungry and smart might not be exactly what you think straight away, especially the smart. It really is more about being emotionally intelligent, emotionally smart. But I really loved the idea of this, and if you get a chance to read that book, it's, I find it was a really great book to really think about how you can get that real team feel in your business. So you have got that great culture. If you're not worried about having a good culture, well, you wouldn't even worry about this if you're happy to have a churn of people coming in and out. But I think this was a really great book to actually really think about how you can keep your people engaged and think about how you can help each other and really get people on board so they feel as enthusiastic nearly as you about your business. Nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do, but if you can get that buy-in from people, they will go the extra mile. They won't be the person that's checking their watch and they're turning up at 1 minute to 9 or 1 minute past 9. And I quite often have people say to me, but in my employment contract, it says that a full-time working week is 38 hours. That's true, that's legislation, and if you've got an employment contract, you actually have to state that there. People that are engaged and are really invested in your business, they won't want to just work 38 hours. If they've got to work a little bit extra, they'll be happy to do that because they know that you're flexible, and if they've got to leave early, one day, that there's that flexibility both ways. So I think that's the thing where you really just need to have that where people are happy to go the extra mile for you and that you're rewarding them in lots of different ways. And it's not always about money. Of course, people want to be paid the best possible wage they can, but sometimes it's things that are more important to people are working closer to home, or having the flexibility to stagger working hours, or working a 4-day week and working longer days, or whatever is important to people. You really should be thinking about how you can accommodate that if possible, so people are happy in your business and they're happy to be there and they're going to work harder. So just a little bit more on that. You want to make sure that people are aligned with your company values. So what should you do? You should actually tell people what they are. Share what your company values are, not just with your team, but with your customers, your clients, potential employees when you're going through a recruitment process, contractors that might work for you. And if there is, not that alignment, that's probably where you're going to start to have problems. So it's really important to make sure that you've got your values and your mission and all of those buzzwords of, what's important to you in the business on your website, in your communication, if you're recruiting people, making it really clear about what's important to you in the business. So you're getting those same people in your business. So, if community is really important in your business and you've got somebody who's working in your business that really doesn't care about community and they're very self-centered, it's probably not the right fit. So if you can really those clear up front, it's a lot easier to have that fit, and it really is important to just make sure that that's really up front. So people understand how they're going to fit into your business. Or they might just look and say, oh yeah, I don't really think that culture's right for me because I'm really driven to get here, but this business seems a little bit more community minded, and that's probably not a great fit for me. So it really is important to make sure that you're really clear on your culture so people really do understand whether it's going to be a good fit. So that's the end of the presentation. So just quickly going back to the disc, I suppose, just to finish off. Just think about, and I'm happy to send this slide to people if you'd like to, have it so you can just have a quick look. You shouldn't pigeonhole people. It's not about that. But it really is just getting an idea. For me, it's more about self-awareness. It's great for team if you've got people in a team, but if you're just by yourself, I think the most important thing is to be aware of how you approach people and situations and how you might just need to tweak it a little bit if you're not really connecting with somebody. There are no good and bad profiles, they're just different. So understanding that if you're talking to somebody who is a D, they don't want to know all the details, they just want you to get to the point. But if you're dealing with somebody who you think is a C, because you can see that they're moderately paced and thoughtful and they're asking lots of questions, they will want to know the details. So it's about just switching how you approach people.
Can a person become one of the other things? So if you're a D, can you become an I or a C or one of those?
No. You can switch. You're a combination of all of them. You're definitely a combination of all of them. So you can switch from one to the other in different situations, but you'll usually be predominantly one or two, a combination of two. So you can't change, but you can change when you need to in different situations. So if you're a D, you're a D. If I had more time to spend on the whole history of DISC and talk about personality and how much your personality changes by about 1 or 2% through your whole life. So if you're a D, you're a D. But you do have the ability to change your behaviour into others when you need to. Like I said earlier, I'm an S. I'm so far S, it's not funny. But standing up here, I have to switch into the I. It's not very comfortable, but I know I've got to do it because that's where I need to be up here and present the information I want to give to you. If I'm looking at buying something and I want to know all of the details, I'd have to switch into C to do all that research. So you can't change, but you can actually adapt your behaviour according to the situation. And it shouldn't be the only thing you think of. If you're a D and you've got low or no emotional intelligence, you're going to come across as being a pretty horrible, arrogant person. But if you're a D and you've got a high level of emotional intelligence, you'll just come across as someone who's really driven and knows what they want. So it's not just about DISC, there's a whole range of other things as well.
Great question though. Alrighty guys, do you want to give Karen a big round of applause? That was excellent. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Megan just said to me now, there is no way Karen would have done this 3 years ago. So congratulations. Any questions? Any other questions for Karen before she leaves? No? Good. Great job. Means you covered everything. Fantastic. Good job. All right. So we're going to have a very, very quick break, guys. And I mean like 15-minute break. Just to stretch.